Hello. It's been so long.
The
Do you
music,
realize how long it's actually been?
the music, I
Greg?
zoned out. I fell asleep for like a second. I
I
don't
was
know what's
asleep
going
too.
on. That was an experience.
Yeah, it feels like it was. I feel like I'm gonna
Mm.
fall asleep.
Yeah, it's been a while, I think.
It's been longer than I even realized until I was like, "Oh, let's hit this up." And I'm looking back at the last podcast that was up, and it was when we were in California. It's like, whoops.
Yeah,
We have good
as you
excuses.
predicted in California, maybe that could have been the last Gadget Cast. We just wouldn't
Right.
want to do it afterwards, and I think maybe that was true for a week.
It was so
like,
nice. It was so nice. Which
Yeah.
we should talk a little bit about that stuff, obviously, before we. I don't know. Do we do that in the Gadget? I think we do that in the Gadget Cast too. Kind of explain a little bit.
Yeah, we should do that in the actual Gadget Cast
Because things happened after that recording that we didn't, know about.
What do we talk about in the recording? I'm very.
So remember that happened before we saw Justine, before we did the Jonathan Morrison thing. No. Did we? We had just seen Justine. We didn't see Austin.
We didn't see Austin,
and we didn't hang out with Jonathan Morrison the last day like we did the last day. So we can talk a little bit about that, and then you had an interesting with some other creators, Canoopsy and stuff. So you had a little hangout with them. You can talk a little bit about that. As much as you can, and it'll be fun. And the fact that lately you've been hanging out with creators, I think that's great. I'm all for that, and definitely want to hear what your thoughts are on that, since you were kind of in your own bubble for a couple of years now, and now you're kind of out of your bubble. You're out of your bubble.
I became the most, I went from being the most recluse person on YouTube to maybe the most sociable in a matter of a month.
It's so crazy right out of that's funny.
It's all in the span of like 1 month. It's like no one to everyone.
That's right. You're
How
right.
do I handle that?
Rebecca's right. She says that you were too busy schmoozing with Canoopsy and friends.
All right.
You was schmooze. Well, anyway, it's been forever. Probably people don't even remember who we are. So let's go ahead and do the podcast for those that still remember who we are, I guess.
I feel like no one's coming in on a Monday afternoon.
No, I mean,
this is more of like an audio thing, right?
Yeah. This is going to be an audio thing, 100% for people who need to listen. And they were waking up this morning and go, where's my audio podcast? So let's do this thing. All right. Are you got everything set up and ready to go?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, I believe everything. I don't know. We'll see. We're going to see. Okay. It'll be an experience. It'll be fun. It'll be a little rusty, but it'll be fun.
Well, I think mine's set up correctly, even though this is another Rodecaster Pro. It's different since the last time we had our show.
Oh,
I think it'll be the same. I just copied the settings over, so it wasn't that big of a deal. All right. Anyway, let's try it. Okay, Gadget Cast in 3, 2, 1, record.
Discovery's 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
3, 2, 1, 0, 0.
Hello, world. We are back from different places, doing different things. I'm with my co-host Travis MCP. I'm Gregory McFadden. This is the Gadget Cast. I don't know what to do, Travis.
Travel. I just say space travel.
You are so out of practice.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know what to say. I was all blank. I was looking at the music and I was like looking at the countdown. I'm like, when do I do? Even the last show, we didn't even have the music. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I had to do that post. So this is like a whole month of me not doing it. I don't know.
It's kind of crazy. So the last time we were just talking about this on Beforecast, the last time we talked to you guys and gals live actually was a really long time ago, because it was before even the last episode. So for those of you who listened to the last episode, really you should have watched it on YouTube, because there's not a lot of context in the audio portion of last episode. So make sure you go to youtube.com/gadgetcast to see when Greg and I met for the very first time in person. It was fun. The production quality of it is amazing. Greg did a great job editing, especially the intro, which is amazing.
Yeah, people like that, right? Hopefully.
Yeah, it was so good. It was so good. And it was fun. So we can talk a little bit about what happened since then, what you've been up to. And then, of course, we'll go right into the Samsung Galaxy S22 and the Apple event coming up in March. So we'll do, we got to do a little bit of that stuff, because people only kind of like us. Apparently they like us talking about tech more than they like us, as I have found in the last couple of weeks.
I think that's true across all of it.
which is too bad because I think we're pretty cool people. But that's all right. That's for a different podcast. All right. So we were in LA. That was kind of the surprise from the episode that we had previous to the LA one where I was talking about we're gonna do something big. Well, we went out there and we hung out with a lot of people. Got to hang out with Jonathan Morrison, Austin Evans, Justine. Anyone else? Is that it? Matt Assini from This Is, which is also part of Austin's team.
Donut Media. That's a big
Donut Media. Yeah. So what did you think about the entire trip? Like, tell me what your experience was, just kind of overall. Your favorite parts too.
Oh my gosh. Now I got to remember this. Hold on. I'm putting you on the spot. I thought overall it was like a really cool trip. Definitely as someone who is wanting to kind of up their game a little bit going into this year. I mean, it's already almost the end of February at this point, but going into this year, looking at my content, kind of seeing how I want the future of Greg's gadgets to be for the next 2 years. And I got to see a lot of different styles and productions for how all of this is made behind the scenes, which I really value the most. That might not be what people are expecting to hear. They might be like, oh my God, you got to meet Austin Evans. You got to see Jonathan Morrison, Justine, all great. Like, yeah, that was amazing. All really amazing people in their own way, amazing human beings. But for me personally, like taking out, looking at the setups, going to and seeing Donut Media, seeing like a production that big in scale and kind of seeing like, okay, realistically, what can I take away from how they shoot their videos? How can I incorporate maybe some elements that would work for the type of content I do and what my viewers kind of appreciate from me on my channel? And I found that pretty helpful going into it. So that's probably the biggest takeaway for me. The highlights of the trip for me, Travis, was I think meeting you. Like I really enjoyed hanging out with you. I thought we had an excellent time together. For sure. It felt like, we've been talking so long in the podcast. People were surprised that was actually our first time meeting in person. And, it could be like it could have went completely wrong, right? Like you could have met me you could have met me in person. It could have been like a jerk or something. We could have got like a coffee. I could have took a sip and be like, oh, this is awful. And like threw it at like the barista or something like that, So that I felt like meeting you and seeing that you're, we talk a lot on GadgetCast and sometimes behind the scenes, stuff like that. Finding out that you're that same genuine person to me was, it's a relief, like, maybe Travis is kind of a jerk. Who knows, That's anyone. But no, Travis, a great guy. I thought we had a lot of fun moments that we'll remember for a lifetime. It was a great experience. How about you?
It was amazing. Again, I knew it would be good, but so many cool memories. Meeting and hang out with Justine for as long as we did was really great to see. They say don't meet your heroes. And while I wouldn't say Justine's my hero, it's definitely someone that I definitely look up for. She's a legend in what we do. And to confirm that she is as good of a person in person as she is, as you would think she is, was incredible. Of course, we knew Jomo. We love Jomo so much. Matt is so cool to hang out with. Had a great time with Matt. Austin was fun to deal with. I know the guys kind of over at Donut Media a little bit, so I was able to make that video happen. And hanging out with you, we had a lot of conversations. I think we really spent time kind of bonding as friends, and I enjoyed all of that. We spent a lot of time in Ubers. Definitely spent a lot of time in Ubers, which
had a cool Uber helped. Driver. That was an experience.
Yeah, we had some great times. Greg is a lot of fun to hang out with, even though he might try to tell you he isn't. He's really a great guy. We had a lot of fun, and we're going to do it again for sure. I think it's one of those things where this was something when I said, hey, Greg, I have a chance to go out to California. I want to do some content out there and hang out with some creators and just kind of be re-energized. When I asked you that back in, I think, October or November or whenever it was, I didn't think you would say yes, but I wanted to offer it to you because I thought it would be A, good for you, and B, like, I just thought it made sense for you, but I didn't think you would do it. And I was happily surprised when you did. And now you're like all over the place hanging out with other creators. I know you were hanging out with Canoopsy just the other day. Of course, Canoopsy's been on the show before, but you got to hang out with Canoopsy and Patrick and a whole bunch of cool people.
Yeah. So they were down for a trip down my area, New York City area. And I got to hang out with them for a while, more than I thought, actually. I was actually surprised by that because I basically, I got to give credit to Matt again, because when we went up to see Austin and stuff like that, Matt was like our guy. He was like, you know what? You guys need me. I'm there. If you don't want me, hey, I get it. Like, I don't, if you don't want me there, just tell me, do your own thing. Okay. And I took a page out of his book. I was like, you know what? I'm here. You want me to hang out with you? Tell me. If you want me to go away, you don't want to do anything, I'm cool with that too. And I feel like I basically just spent like 3 days with them. Like, it was more than I expected. I thought I'd spend like I thought it would be like, I'd spend like a few hours with them and then just kind of like go do my own thing and they go do their own thing. But we spent quite a while together, and it was very interesting meeting everyone in that group. Obviously Canoopsy, super, like, again, meeting people in real life. You got to know, like, how is this person in real life? And Canoopsy is just an amazing person. Really solid, down to earth, super, like, it's always tough for me in a way when I hang out with very creative people, because I just know I'm not necessarily that person. I know who I am in a way. I would love to be more creative, and it's something I want to work on. I appreciate what they put into their art, and to hang out with someone like Canoopsy, who I think is someone who definitely cares about the art of it all, and how much energy he puts into, like, watching Canoopsy like take a picture with an iPhone. It is you're like watching this guy do angles, and I'm like, oh, you could do that?
Yeah, right.
he's like holding the phone up like this, and you look at the after photos, like, whoa, that was cool. So you're seeing all that stuff, hanging out with them, just a bunch of guys. Patrick too, who is like really underrated creator on YouTube, does a ton of stuff. Definitely a guy who, like, I would say, does not care about the BS of YouTube and just kind of does his own thing. And that's very, like, freeing and liberating in a way. And his whole style is just like, man, like, these people are like legends, it's crazy to meet them all. But yeah, I hope we had a good time. They told me they had a good time with me. They could have been lying to me. I have no idea. But I think we had a solid time, and it was fun. I got to show them a lot of good food places around me. I got to take, we talked about you, Travis. We did talk about you. Okay?
What'd you say?
Yeah.
What did you say?
If you want to know what you were like in real life, I told them, most awful human being in my entire life. And, we talked about your Subway. And we were having, I will betray confidence a little bit. We were having a dinner, and I think I was messaging you at one point, and I think you sent me a message like, I just had Subway.
Yeah, I did. I literally had just eaten it.
I just looked at all of them. I went, this guy's eating Subway. What is wrong? After I took him to like the best sandwich place on the East Coast, we just felt sad for you. Like,
well, I don't have those here.
We could bring this guy. We understand, but it's like, we could just bring Travis here in this moment. He would just be like,
I would be
happy.
happy.
What am I doing?
I mean, we had those amazing crepes. I mean, I love that crepe at the place.
Crepe was pretty good. That was good. Yeah.
Good. I'm actually looking forward to that. Yeah, I mean, listen, I love food, and we actually talked to Matt about doing the food podcast, the fast food podcast.
Oh, these guys are killer for the food podcast, I think.
Really?
We would definitely, if you ever do a food podcast, we would definitely need a special edition Canoopsy Patrick episode. These guys eat like crazy. I've never seen anything like it, to be frank. Wow. I know they're on a trip and stuff like that, but man, these guys are eating like 10 meals a day. Like, they're going from pizza to ice cream to sandwiches. It's an experience. But it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Awesome. I was telling Travis in the beforecast, I went from I think it's safe to say at my subscriber count, probably the most recluse YouTuber on the planet, never meeting anyone, staying in my own little bubble, to maybe one of the most well-networked YouTubers in the span of 1 month, which is really weird.
I love that. I think it's great.
Isn't that weird how that works out? It's like, I'm not going to any events. I'm not going to see these people. And then it's like, oh, you mean Donut Media, Austin Evans. Yeah. I just seen Austin Evans. Look at all those legends.
Yeah. Dustin Morgan.
Exactly.
What
the heck is that?
But I actually kind of figured that might happen once you got around creative people. And I told you beforehand, I really want you to be around creative people because the energy is not like anything else you've ever experienced. And I wanted you to experience that. So I'm super happy that you did. And I think some really cool projects are going to be on the horizon for hopefully both of us. So very, very excited that you got to do that. Super fun time. Real quick though, that brings me to some things that I'm going to do on my channel. I don't talk a lot about my channel, but I do want to talk a little bit about what I've just done and like what's in the future for me, just because the types of videos I'll be doing, I think is going to change fairly dramatically. Like I'm going to less focus on the specs and stuff of things. Not like I was really ever super hardcore into it anyway, but I'm going to focus a little bit less on that and a little bit more of social experiments using tech, kind of like I did with the second video that I just released with the Android user trying iPhone. Did you get to see that yet, Greg, or no? It's kind of a long one.
I have not. I'm so sorry. This week has been jam packed, and it's something that I went to go look at it like last night when I returned at 1 in the morning, and I saw the length of it, and I was like, yeah. This is not happening.
It's not a quick thing. No. It's the longest video I've ever done. Although I edited the hell out of it, and
I can imagine.
The thing is, it was at a point where if I cut anything else, it was almost like Jenga. If I were to cut anything else, I would have had to cut a bunch of other stuff, which would have taken out context. Because as it was, I was cutting out stuff that already had context. And I'm like, okay, I'll get rid of that, but I'm losing an entire storyline when I do that. But if I did it anymore, it would have been janky and it wouldn't have been as good. So at any rate, the point is that type of content has always really interested me, like kind of these weird social experiments with tech. So that's kind of the direction I'm going to be going into over the next couple of weeks. But before that, hopefully tomorrow, according to what FedEx says, I'll have my Galaxy S22 Ultra, which is essentially the Galaxy Note, as I've been saying for the last over a month now. And I'm kind of excited for it. Ironically, I'm not going to use it as much as it's going to be in my content, because it's going to be one of the phones that I do an Android to or iPhone user to Android for. Actually, that's the main reason I got it. But I'm kind of excited to give it the first Galaxy Note phone that I've had, that I've actually owned, because I did the review on the Note 20 since the Note 9, which is a long time. And I'm going to try to use it, not just kind of review it like I did the Amazon Renewal, but actually like use it, like really use it and kind of see, where Android is at. And not just, okay, this is what the camera looks like, this is the speed of, the kind of nitsy. I want to actually get back into it and see where Samsung is with this thing, because it's a beautiful looking phone. It's huge and everyone's really excited about it. And with the chip shortages, you got to kind of get it. Otherwise, you're not going to get one for a while. What have you seen about the S22 and the Ultra and the Plus so far?
I got to be honest. I've been very busy. It's something that I really haven't kept up with. I remember talking to Viper, and I just did his podcast for vidIQ. And he was like, "Oh, you gonna watch the event tomorrow?" I'm like, "What event?" He's like, "Oh, it's S22 event." I'm like, "Oh, I guess I will." And then I didn't even end up watching the event. I don't know. I'm just not feeling any interest around this phone personally for myself. Maybe you tell me I'm wrong. I just don't feel like there's not much. Maybe the coolest thing about this lineup is the kind of the reintroduction of the Note series in a way, with the S10 being on the highest end Ultra phone. I don't even know why they call it Ultra at this point. Why not just call it the Note? Like that has such, I think that's the better brand recognition for that phone. Notes, that was the phone to get for Samsung back in the day. So I really don't understand their whole branding lineup going with Ultra at this point. It almost cheap. They had the perfect name for that phone. So yeah, I really don't know too much about it. I've seen a lot of I guess camera stuff on YouTube, looking at photos and stuff like that. But that's about it.
That's actually the thing I'm really interested in, because according to some of the tests, depending on whose you watch, it seems to be a marked step up from the iPhone, which is saying something. Now, I think that I'm unsure if the video is any better, because the video on the 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max is just ridiculously good. I don't know if the Ultras is better than that, but the photos in a lot of instances seem to be winning out in an interesting kind of way, because, and again, I think this is mostly software. I don't think it has anything to do with lens. I think it's just how the AI is interpreting this stuff, which could mean if Apple really wanted to, because there's enough processing power in a 13 Pro Max, and they could change a couple algorithms here and there, and it probably would be in line. But whether or not they'll do that is a whole nother ball of wax. But that's why I want to get it in. I'm going to take pictures between the two and see what I see. But just in some of the, and they might be biased, I don't know, but some of the images I've seen so far, it looks like a better camera, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know how Samsung's doing the processing on the S22 these days. But one of the criticisms with Samsung phones in the past is like, at first glance, it's such an impressive photo. But like, if you dig deep into it, and it depends, right? You look at like what consumers like, and consumers like bright, vivid photos and TV. You know, you go into a TV store and they're putting the saturation all the way up, and you go, oh my God, it's an amazing looking TV. So with the photo comparison, sometimes it's hard. You look at two photos next to each other, and if it's like overly saturated, one person might go, that's the better photo. Look at that. It's bright, it's luscious, it's vivid. You can have a totally different audience where they go, I know what that is. That's oversaturated. It's not true to real life. Or in the case of a lot of and this it's a very interesting mix, right? I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong, but you get to like someone who edits photos and they're like, well, if you do that, I can't bring that down or change it in a way that I would want to change it. So these camera comparisons are getting really hard nowadays, to where it's hard to say, is one actually better than the other, or is that just a preference style? You know, back in the day, you used to have like clear winners, like, oh yeah, that is without a doubt the better photo. I feel like at this point, I think you agree with me. It's like all these phones are amazing. Like they all take really good pictures, and it really just might come down to, how do you like your photos being processed?
Right. And that has a lot to do with it. But there were one or two, and I think the one that Mr. Who's the Boss, I saw an image on Twitter or something that someone took between his camera comparison. I haven't watched his video yet, but the images were very much different. So much so that you could tell one was accurate and one wasn't. Not that, I mean, they both looked good, but you could tell one was accurate and one wasn't. When someone asked which one it was actually the S22 Ultra, which shocked me, because I would have and what I mean by more accurate, the sky specifically was a completely different color. One was a very muddy brown and one was more of a kind of lighter blue. And the muddy brown was the actual color, and that's what the S22 captured. Whereas the iPhone had changed it into something that looked better as an image, but was not as accurate. So very, very interesting stuff. Although I would also say that while the fake sky looked better in my eyes, Aaron actually looked better on the S22. Again, we'll find out. I'm going to do my own stuff because, you know, I just need to see it for myself. I need to do this myself. But it is really interesting if they have, now again, I haven't seen anyone saying that the video is better, but the imagery on the photos might be. The nice thing about this is literally why we need competition. Because this is the best way we're going to see better products from other manufacturers, whether it be Apple or Huawei or OnePlus or whatever, is when a company comes out, does something, and people are like, whoa, that's the best one now. So now they've got to beat that. There's meetings going on, I'm sure, in Apple right now going, okay, how do we make our picture look better? Because now we're seeing these big YouTubers showing deficits in how their imagery looks better than ours. I guarantee they've already had multiple meetings about this.
Well, the whole smartphone race, it's a camera race at this point. All the major features are camera features every year. It's the thing that people get the most excited for. It's the thing that takes up the longest time in the YouTube review to explain because of the differences year over year in just cameras. Every year, you know, that's where all the investment is going. So the iPhone 14 is rumored to get a pretty big camera upgrade this year, actually switching megapixel count. You know, Android phones have been on these high megapixel count phones for a couple iterations now. And this will be Apple's first forte into going into that with like a 48 or 42 megapixel sensor. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, how does that actually affect the processing of those images? And that might be one of the reasons why Samsung might be a little ahead here, is because they actually have that higher megapixel count way ahead of Apple at this point. They've had it for a few years at this point. And also the zoom level seems to be, I mean, that thing got it's got like 5 cameras strapped in the back of it, but like, yeah, you can't compare a 3x zoom to a, 10x zoom and then a digitally 100x zoom. Like that's the one I saw on Twitter where it was Mr. Who's the Boss, and it was like the iPhone digitally zoomed all the way in, and then the equivalent on the S22. And he was right. The iPhone, it looked like someone painted him. It didn't even look like a photo because it's just digitally zooming all in, and it has like no data there. And the S22, it just looked like a regular photo. That was completely night and day, right? And some people argue, is that really necessary, that kind of zoom? I think it just depends circumstance. Maybe there's, could be one picture every month that you get with that zoom, and maybe it was worth it to you. Like, I wouldn't have been able to capture that otherwise. So it's a tool in your arsenal, right?
100%. I would agree. I think that I want at least a 5x optical zoom at this point in 2022. Like, if I'm paying the money, just give it to me because it's out there. Beyond that, a lot of it's digital. And here's the other thing. So there's a lot of still, as far as we are on phones and cameras and stuff, and the technology being incredible and amazing, the reality is there's still a long way to go in AI. AI can do so much to a picture or video quality that we still haven't even reached yet. I mean, you can just see how video game systems, GPUs, now take a lower resolution image and upsample it to something that looks just as good as like you can take a 1080p image using DLSS and go to 4K, and it looks just about like 4K. Now, it's a little bit different because it's digital. It's all digital, like you're using a straight line and you're kind of doing. But the fact that we can do deep fakes proves to me that we can do things like I'm talking about. So I think we're going to see that the hardware itself, which to me, obviously the optical zoom is important, because beyond that, you can digitally enhance everything. But you still need the opticals first. I think you should go to at least 5 or 10. And then after that, it's kind of irrelevant, because everything else is you're a creep at that point. You're looking at someone's apartment 12 miles away. Like, what are you doing? But I think I've seen recently people taking pictures of the moon, which is pretty dope, but you'll do that once.
Yeah.
You'll do that once. It'll be an amazing picture, but you'll do it once. Was it worth all the R&D and all the money spent, and then whatever you paid for that technology in your phone to do it one time? I don't think so. I still love how Apple and in some cases Samsung spends a lot more of their time, money, and R&D on things that are quality of life improvements, not necessarily spec chasing. I appreciate that more.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing a lot of comments here about talking about the processing of these different photo types, and how one YouTuber did it and the iPhone looked better, and then the Samsung looked better when this other YouTuber did it. And we're getting to a point at this stage, and you can talk. You predicted Google's marketing strategy. Maybe you fed it to them, Travis.
Yeah.
But we're really at a point where, again, the processing could be so different that depending on your skin tone, you could have wildly different results with these cameras at this point. Google has the real tone thing that they worked on. And yeah, you could have a different skin tone, take the same photo, it could come out completely different. It could be fine for one skin tone and not fine for the other. And that's really the place that we're in at this point with all these amazing cameras. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I think the gimmicky stuff, like the 100x zoom, it's stuff that you'll probably use once and go, look at that, I could do that. Isn't that cool? Okay. Again, I was with Patrick and Canoopsy, again, super talented. These guys take amazing photos, and they were saying that they missed the 2x on the iPhone. They didn't even like that they went to 3x because they liked the angle, down. Like we're thinking about it on a zoom level, and I'm with you. I think about it on a zoom level. I don't think about it on a focal length, because I'm not artistic, but they're thinking about it from the way the focal length looks and the distortion and all this other stuff that me and you probably don't even think about too much. And they're saying the old 2x was better optically for actually taking like a portrait photo. You want to get some blur in the background, you want to, and then they're saying the 3x is just a little too close for them when they want to take the similar type of photo. So it's in a really weird spot where the solution at this point, at least on Android, I mean iPhone too, right? They have 3 cameras, but it's to add another camera with another dedicated feature. And I'm sure you've seen the parody mock-ups of here's the next Galaxy phone, and it's all cameras on the back of it. It's I wonder if there's going to be a technology maybe in the next 5 years where we can get to a miniaturization point of something where it is maybe a single lens that can do it all, rather than the approach now where it's you got to craft each separate lens. And at one point, it will get ridiculous, and you'll be like, "What am I looking at here?"
Yeah, like a spider's eye. I'll give you
yes,
whatever.
Yes.
Which is kind of weird. Anyway, looking forward to getting that. I'll get that allegedly tomorrow, but FedEx, who knows? And then I'll give my thoughts next week for sure. Beyond that, what else we got going on? We got the Apple press conference or whatever the hell it's going to be, rumored, because it's not been officially announced. So we have to be clear about this. This is all rumor. Coming up here within the next couple of weeks. They typically only tell you a week in advance. So if it's what is the currently rumored date right now?
March 8th. And it's weird because that comes from again, Mark Gurman, who we've talked about on this show. Mm-hmm. He's pretty hesitant to actually throw out like an actual date. He likes to cover his I don't know. He doesn't like to give out a concrete date. That's like a Prosser thing. Like Prosser drops the bomb and goes, "It's gonna be this date," and it's like, "Oh, it was actually that date." That's crazy. So this sounds pretty legitimate. It seems to have like a lot of confirmation behind it. But March 8th is the date, and that's pretty soon.
Well, if it turns out that that's true, and that means that next week we will get the invites. There'll be the little thing and all that other stuff. If we don't see it by then,
it's not happening.
Not gonna happen. Yeah. But we assumed that it probably will. It's a pretty safe assumption. They have a lot of products to get out this year. Let's go over real quick the product announcements we think are going to happen, because it seems like every couple of days we find out, oh, this is going to happen this year. Maybe it's not going to happen this year. It's going to happen. Where are we at right now, Greg?
I think this event, maybe like 2 weeks ago, sounded like the most boring event in the world. It sounded like no new iMac, none of that stuff. It's going to be iPhone SE3, which I think most people probably agree sounds like a pretty boring phone. We know what we're getting with that. It's going to be a faster iPhone SE. Okay, cool. 5G. Nice. iPad Air, a new iPad Air. And that, again, it's very boring because you look at the iPad mini and go, that's the iPad Air. They need to update everything they brought to the mini. They need to bring that over to the Air. It's a spec bump at this point. Nothing new, nothing exciting, nothing groundbreaking. Then again, with those Mac delays, you're like, well, what am I looking forward to here? Well, it looks like in the past couple of weeks, there's been a lot of rumors that there may actually be the debut of the M2 chip, which I think is very exciting. Like, M1 was their first attempt at Apple Silicon. The M1 Pro is their first attempt at Pro Silicon. What does the second generation of this chip look like? What kind of benefits does that bring to the Apple Silicon line? And the product itself isn't exciting. It's an M2 MacBook Pro with apparently no design changes from the other one. But the M2 chip in itself, at least for me, is exciting. I want to see what path they're going on here. The initial M1 Max came out at the end of 2020, so they kind of had over a year to work on this stuff. What kind of improvements can you bring to that entry level line, which I think is the most important line of their Macs? That's the Macs that sell the most. So that could be very interesting. New Mac Mini as well. Maybe the Pro level version, maybe also an M2 version. Why not just get both out of there if you're going to show off the M2 chip? The MacBook Air is supposed to be a redesign, so maybe that's the only product that doesn't get a refresh. Maybe they do, though. Maybe it's very simple, and they're like, here's the same looking one with an M2 in it, and then later in the year, we'll get the revision of it, and they can easily change that out, and I don't think anyone would be upset. I think it's very easy to throw a chip in there and go, oh, here we go. It's same price point. It's a little faster now. You're probably gonna like that. So that's the exciting stuff for me. It's all this Mac stuff. Everything else at this stage in the rumor game just seems like little revisions or updates that they need to go to. It still boggles my mind that you can buy an iPad mini and it's more powerful than the iPad Air. Like what is going on with that?
So I'm going to ask you two questions that at first will sound very similar, but they're actually quite different, unless they happen to end up being the same answer. What of the things that we think is going to be announced are you most excited for? And which of the things that we think are going to be announced are going to be the most needle moving? In other words, most people are going to buy it, like real people are going to buy it, it's going to do well, that sort of thing.
The most exciting to me is the Mac stuff. Again, I think it's pretty simple. A Pro Mac Mini, I guess, is the thing I'm most excited to see. I think that'd be a cool little computer, especially if they price it right. Sometimes a computer is exciting or something like that. Sometimes it's a great value. Like I really love that with like the regular iPad. It's stuff I've seen before, but I love being able to like recommend to someone a really amazing product. And it's like, you should just get this. You should really get this. You'll save so much money. It's going to do everything you want it to do. And that is the product at this point that I'm looking forward to the most. The product I think will move the needle, that's such a hard question. I really don't think any of these products will move the needle. But in terms of sales, I just think it's iPhone at this point. Any iPhone is just, the iPhone SE is going to sell more than any Mac they release. This iPad Air is probably not a needle mover at all. I can't think of a more, it's a needed refresh, but it's very boring. So I'm going to say iPhone SE is the most needle moving, but I really don't even think that's needle moving at this point.
So if you could only upgrade one thing this year, it would be what? Like either your phone or your laptop or your desktop. Like what would it be if you could only upgrade?
I could only buy like one Apple product for the rest of the year. For me personally, it probably wouldn't be any of these products at this event. It would be the iMac. I'm really looking forward to that. That's what I want the most. I want a big mini LED capable display. I've talked on GadgetCast before about all these awful displays out there. Actually, I got to follow up on this. I saw like a month ago that there was like, I forget which company was making it, like a $1,300. It was either mini D or OLED display. I think it was OLED, like a OLED display, a computer monitor, $1,300. And I was like, what? I need that today. I need this today. Please give this to me. I'm looking forward to the iMac right now. That if I really don't need a new phone, I don't need a new laptop, I would like that iMac.
Yeah, so funny. This M1 iMac I actually don't have any complaints about it. If a better processor would work out for what I'm doing, whether it be M2 or M1 Max or whatever, I would like to gain a little bit of speed on my exports, but my exports are totally fast enough. But I will not give up this for anything that's not colored. I'm sorry. I need it to be colored. I know that sounds dumb, but one of the main reasons I bought the thing was because it is colored. And it turns out I really like the thing. I love, and I even talked to someone online, Ryan Loco, a good friend of mine, but he's a really, he's a photographer who's just very talented. He does pictures for all types of famous people. And I was like, yeah, I like this a lot more than my Mac Mini. And if you think about it, the Mac Mini and the iMac are basically the same computer.
Yeah.
But this thing is all in one. And something about that really is enticing for me. And I like it a lot. The screen quality is really good. The price to performance is really good. I have one cable going from the back of it to make all of it work because the keyboard and mouse are wireless. The monitor's connected to the CPU directly, so there's no cabling there. It's just one thing. I love that. It makes it one of the most portable type computers in the world. And if a Pro comes out and it's colored, I know Pro won't be colored, but if I see something that looks nice, I might gotta get it. Especially if I can get, the only thing I would say is maybe a little faster, but more importantly than that, give me that mini LED screen. I might gotta go.
No, listen, I love to hear that perspective because that's something as someone who's been a fan of Mac platforms and as someone who has really used an iMac almost my entire life as like my main computer, that was always the appeal to me. I'm sitting in front of like my streaming setup is actually a Mac Mini connected to like a regular PC monitor. And, some people make fun of you because they go, why do you care about the design? What do you care about that for? You're just using it. It's a tool. You get it done. But it inspires you in a way. You want to use the machine. You look at it. You go, that's nice. I'm inspired. I want to go sit at it. I want to go work at it. And when it's a product that's just not designed well or looks ugly, you kind of don't want to go and use it every day. It's kind of like, oh, let me go turn that on. Okay. You got a bunch of cables coming out the back. It's not nice looking. You see that blue iMac, you look at the back of it, you look at the side of it, you're just like, that's a nice computer. I'm going to go use that for a second. Hold on.
100%. 100%. And the other thing is, unlike a smartphone where you're not looking at the back of the smartphone almost ever, unless you're like putting it down on the table, like I look at the face of this thing all damn day. Like it's just there. So of course I want it to look nice. And of course I want something visually pleasing. And of course, when cabling this thing up, only having one cable, so it's a lot less cable, it just makes sense. And it's not to say that the Mini is not as good because obviously it's the same thing basically. But I think my experience between the MacBook and the Mini have been so different because I would put the Mac Mini and the MacBook Air M1s that I had in the same experience. And again, no, this is going to sound dumb, but this feels like a completely different experience, which it shouldn't, but it does. And that's enough reason for me to love this thing. I love it. I was afraid that I wouldn't like it and I'd send it back, but I like it. It's not going back.
Yeah.
I'll trade it in when the next thing comes out, but I love it. I'll keep using it.
Yeah. It's the ultimate test of like, it's a great thing. Cause like you said, all of these machines, they're kind of the same. They're all M1. They're all the same thing. It is funny how you have such a different experience based on form factor.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think a lot of people just aren't willing to admit to themselves at some points. They're like, I'm practical. I don't care. But you see it time and time again with even, I know you're saying like even smartphone design, it's important. Design is important. That was, that was Steve Jobs' whole thing. He went into this industry that was full of just hardware engineers going, who cares about the design? It just needs to do this and then people will use it. And it's like, no, you got to design good products. You see a good art piece, you like it, you want to stare at it. If it's aesthetically pleasing, it's good. You go get a house, right? You walk into the house. If it looks nice, you're like, wow, I love living here. If it looks bad, you don't want to live there. So
that's true.
Even if it's the same square footage, right? It's like, okay, who cares? But humans are visual creatures. They want to see stuff. They want to appreciate all that stuff. And that's one of the things that's always drawn me to the Mac classically, is I really like the designs of their products. So it's cool to see your perspective coming into it as someone this late in the stage, the first time owning an iMac, and you're like, I love this design. I want to use it. So I like that. That's cool. Yeah. So I think that's it for the Apple event. We're going to see very soon. We don't have to talk about it too much. We're going to talk about it so much to the point where it's like when we get to it, it's like, what are we talking about this stuff anymore? Travis, I got to talk to you about this. I got something cool.
All right.
I've been inspired by you, I think, a little bit.
What'd I do?
In my own way, my own little spin.
Of course. All right.
I see Travis, I don't think he told this story on GadgetCast. We went to like an arcade over there in where we were staying. It was really cool.
Love it.
And it had like this old Travis kicked my butt in the arcades. I'm not gonna lie. I beat him at like one game, but every
you
other
did beat
game,
me at something. Yeah.
One game I beat you. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. One of the fighting games.
Fighter? I don't know. You see Street Fighter 6? You see the leak?
Yeah, of course I did. I was watching it live.
It looks so good, right? The little
it looks
thing.
good.
Yeah. Anyway, Travis kicked my butt. Let's just put the record straight. I thought I'm gonna beat Travis. I'm good at video games. This guy's whipping my butt. I'm like, oh god, I'm a console player. This guy's been living on arcades. He just demolished me. It was awful. My pride was broken. I didn't tell him that, but I went to bed sad that night. I was like, damn. Anyway, Travis has like the coolest arcade setup. I love your setup now. I watch your videos and I'm like, this setup is amazing. I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous of Travis's setup. What the heck?
So funny.
So I went and bought something that I really like. So when I was in California, it had an arcade and then all retro video games and stuff like that. And I got Pokemon Red with a new battery in it, and I got the Analog Pocket.
You got it. When did it come out?
So I actually pre-ordered this a while ago. I actually had it before I went on the trip. It was just kind of boxed up because I just didn't have time to really take it out and play with it. It's like an older device. You kind of know you almost know what you're getting. And it's like, you got to get the Game Boy games and stuff like that. So it was a process where like mentally I was like, I'll just open this later. And I finally did. And basically because I got Pokemon Red, I was like, oh, I'm excited to play this. So I got this. This thing is I love this. This is the best.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Oh man. It is. So it is basically, you can put like a bunch of different like cartridges into it. Mainly I'm just doing like Game Boy, but you can get like different adapters and stuff. It has like a dock, like almost like a Nintendo Switch. So you can put it into your TV and play on like a big screen as well.
Dang.
But I've been using it just like portably mostly. And it's just basically like, think about like Nintendo should have released this product. This is like a Game Boy remastered. It has an OLED screen. Screen. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's just, I mean, it looks so simple, right? Like there's no even like letters on the butt, but it's Game Boy cart in the back. You put that on, just slide it in. And the speakers on it are like really good too, in a way. Like, like if you go back and pick up an old Game Boy and you listen to the speakers, you're like, ooh, like, but they's are like really good. And OLED screen, it like the games look so nice. Like they're Game Boy games. So they're nothing like crazy. They're like a lot of like pixels, but it just looks so nice. Cause like even going back in the day and getting a Game Boy, it's a screen that wasn't even self-illuminating. Like if you played in the dark, you could not see the screen. They used to sell an attachment, which was like a light, and you clamp it on and use that at night. So like, look at it. It's self-illuminating. Like you play this in the dark, whatever. It's awesome. USB-C too. Like it's all like modern. But it does have like the Game Boy Link. Like if you want to get, remember the link cables?
Yeah.
Link it up, but it charges with USB-C, headphone jack. What a cool product. I love it.
The white is sick looking. It looks so good.
So clean, right? Yeah. Talking about like design, it's like, look at this. This is so cool.
You know what that looks like? It looks like what would have happened if Apple continued to make the iPod.
Yes, absolutely. Big iPod of
with an LED with an OLED. Can you imagine?
I really like this, and I guess it's legal. Like they couldn't sell this if it wasn't legal, right? Like I guess trademarks are just like
it's because they're not necessarily selling games with it and stuff. So there's this gray area where there's a lot of well, now if you go to Amazon, there are tons of these little systems that will have like 3,000 and 6,000 games on them. Those are illegal, but no one's really policing it so much yet. So you could go, and like if you like old retro games, whether it be Nintendo, Super Nintendo, arcade, or whatever, literally if you go on Amazon, there are so many of these little systems. Some are joysticks, some look like little Nintendos, some look like little Super Nintendos. They look like different things, and they have preloaded tons of games. That's illegal, but you're not going to get in trouble for it. What Greg has looks just like a Game Boy, has no games on it. So it really isn't illegal at all. It's just a system. And if you own the cartridges, which he bought, then it works. But it kind of upgrades the imagery on it because, like he said, it's using an OLED rather than just kind of an old LCD.
Yeah, it is.
Matrix, whatever it was.
Yeah, it is. It's cool. Like, I mean, I guess this just had to be from your childhood to like really like get into it, but I don't know. It kind of like gave me like this like kick of like, I don't know if I necessarily like cover this on the channel, but like I think I have to just make a separate channel to like cover this, and then like I don't know. I've never like been like a super like retro guy. Like I've always kind of just like moved on, but like after like doing this, I'm like. I kind of want to like get more retro stuff now and like test all this stuff out.
And it's blowing up. Retro gaming is blowing up, especially on YouTube. I'm kind of in this community now that I do on the side, retro fight community. So retro fighting games. I'm pretty deep into that now, and it brings back nostalgia. So it's all nostalgic things, and that's why that I think in tech there's room for nostalgia. It'll be interesting because. Nostalgia is weird. Nostalgia, generally speaking, is better than the actual experience. A lot of times when you go back and get that thing that you have nostalgic feelings about, it's never as good, right? Like you're like using it now. It's like, oh, it's not as good. But there are some things like some games and some technology that is just as good. Canoopsy literally just did a video on his iPod the other day on his channel.
Yeah. And we were talking about that, how it's like you get your phone, you want to listen to music. And you're like, why would you own an iPod when you could just go to your phone and listen to all the music you want? Like, what a stupid thing. But you like start to realize it. And it's like, I get my iPod, I listen to music. No one's going to text me. No distractions are going to come. I am here to listen to music. And it is catered to just getting me music. Or at the phone, you get a notification. You pick up the music and you're like, well, let me go check Twitter. Let me go do something else while I'm listening to music. And it's like, no, on the iPod, you got music.
Yeah, it's a singular device, which is why things like the Kindle still sell very well. Otherwise, it'd be like I could just read it on my phone or my tablet. But the Kindle still sells well because it's a singular device. And if you want to just read and you don't want to be distracted, it's the perfect device for that. So these singular devices still apparently will have a life to them, which is why things like, mobile gaming and stuff still work, even though there's like streaming and all these other things. There's still these singular device things that I think are still going to do well because at least for now, for the people that are living and buying these things, they have a desire for this. Now, in the future, when you have kids that have grown up their entire life with smartphones that can shoot 4K video, and that's like the base level of what it is, I think there's not going to be as much nostalgia because I don't know that you can nostalgically feel the same way about some of this stuff. I could be wrong, but it's so much of a commodity now that it feels like the first time the Nintendo came out with a little robot, it was like nothing you had ever seen before. Or the Power Glove. I remember that, like, everything was exciting. Every single piece of technology seemed more futuristic. Everything now just seems like more of the same for the most part. I mean, we have self-driving cars, like things are just incredible. And it's like, how can you get excited?
You have all this incredible stuff, and there is like you said, self-driving cars, all this incredible technology on the horizon. But it's just like we're at a point where we're so spoiled. It's like, oh, why isn't that now? It's like, it's crazy. Where, yeah, you're right. Back in the day, it's like, oh my God, look at this awful Virtual Boy. This is amazing.
Right.
And now you can strap a headset to you, and you literally have like the dream of like virtual reality, and it's almost like, okay.
It's almost too good. And the thing is, that's why I love these retro channels. People are asking in the chat about Commodore 64 and Amiga. I watch channels that not only talk about the history of those devices, they like take them apart and show you the innards of them. Like I'm watching all these retro channels because it's interesting. It definitely brings me back to a time. I think what it is that some of these things connect to memories and feelings that you had in the past. So you have a positive thought of that product. And you could say that about your very first iPhone, or you could say that about your very first smartphone or your very first tablet. Maybe you had something cool happen. But there are things that I think are taking place now that make the other things impossible. For example, one of the reasons why I love arcade games so much is it's not even so much the games, although I do love the games. It's that I had to go to an arcade. There were all these things that happened. I would meet these people. I would only have a couple of quarters. I had to make it last as long as possible. It was me against the machine. I would meet friends there. We were all against the machine. Then we would play fighting games that get you. Like, there's these things that don't really happen anymore. It's now you're at home. You're pretty much stuck. If you're playing someone online, they're probably a 12-year-old that's laughing at you, calling you names. Like, these are all things that are not like cool things. Like, of course, you can still meet friends and things like that, but it's a completely different situation when you're out there in the real world doing these things and making these things happen. Payphones were a thing when I was growing up. So there's all these different nostalgic things. I just am unsure if there's ever going to be like a nostalgia from this point forward, because I could be completely wrong, but I just don't see how it could be. Everything's so commoditized. It's so weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I really don't have anything to say. You said it perfectly. So
Nostalgia Cast is what our next channel is.
One other thing about this thing, which I didn't get to mention, is it actually has like a SD card slot too in it. So you just put like an SD in there, and they actually have like Game Boy Studio where it's apparently I don't know. I'll see. It says you need like 0 programming language, but you could like drag and drop and make like your own Game Boy game. And Game Boy games, like if you think about it, they're pretty simple, right? It's kind of like very linear, and you have like sprites and everything. So I might try and make a Game Boy game.
You should.
Maybe I'll make a Gadget Cast Game Boy.
I was about to say, you literally should do that. Like, that's what you should do. That should be the thing
right?
you do. Real quick shout out to one of the people who's part of the GadgetCast community, Tish, who is one of the few people who owns GadgetCast headphones. Of course, she's been a longtime listener, supporter of the show, is in my latest video. So make sure you go check that out, as she is the subject of the switching from Android to iPhone video. So make sure you leave her a nice comment in there. Tell her you're from GadgetCast, because she's still reading some of those comments. Yeah, I mean, we got other things to carry on with, but maybe we'll save that for another time, because we definitely need to do more of these shows. We've been slipping the last couple of weeks. We promise you we won't do it again. We'll definitely be back more often. I do want to do a little bit of an aftercast, so maybe we should just cut this here.
Yeah.
And let everyone know that, of course, we need you to continue to love on us in the Apple Podcast feedback system. You can leave us a review there. All the stars, please. Of course, you can always reach out to us on our social medias, which are in the show notes. And, of course, we have the voicemail if you want to leave us that, or an email or whatever. Anyway, we have lots more to talk about coming up soon. So make sure you are subscribed on all the platforms, and make sure you check us out live on youtube.com/GadgetCast. But for now, he is Greg. I am Travis. See you next time. Boom. Yowza. Oh, so I have a message that I'll have to tell you off stream about our March thing. But real quick, our personal Apple March event. Anything else? I do want to share just a couple things with the guys. What did I want to talk about that was off regular stream besides that, which I can't do on live
trip
stream?
related.
It's probably trip related. Probably like you guys. We spent so much time in. Let's tell some funny stories from when we were there. Why not? So when we were in California, as in the last episode, you saw that Greg was like, "Oh, I know to keep an eye out for Travis. I know he's supposed to be tall and all this stuff." And I was sitting there waiting because he had texted me when he landed. I landed. I think it was supposed to be 20. I came in a little early. I think it was 20 minutes before he was supposed to land. Well, it turns out something like 45 minutes later, he's still not there. I get a text from like 20 minutes previous to that, and he goes, "Oh, we just landed." I'm like, "Cool." So I'm just waiting in the area, like, what the hell's going on? And then you said that when you landed, you couldn't even get off the plane or something. What was going on with that?
Some plane was like blocking the runway, and they couldn't like move it.
But what was funny about all of it is because, of course, we're traveling during a time where we don't necessarily want to travel. Tell them about the coughing on the airplane, because that killed me.
Yeah. So again, I didn't want to be traveling. We were, in that wave, and I was like, I got on the plane and everything's better than I expected. I get on the plane, it's kind of empty. It's like row to myself. I'm like, I've never had this. This is awesome. Okay, cool. Row to myself. Wow. All right, this is gonna work out. Nice. Just flying the whole trip. No, nothing. Everything's perfect. I'm like happy. I'm like, this all worked out. Last 20 minutes before landing, I just hear the most violent cough of my life. This person sounds like they're about to fall over and die. And I'm looking around very nervously. I'm like, where is this person in the plane? Are they in front of me? Are they behind me? Where I need spatial audio to dictate where this person is coming from. And I could not see this person, but I just kept hearing them cough and hack up. And I'm just like thinking to myself, I'm like, you can't do this. Why isn't no one stopping this man? Why are you coughing so much?
Well, the thing is that, and Greg and I were really kind of like, I stay at home, so I've never really had COVID or anything unless I was asymptomatic. I just really never go anywhere.
Damn, I've never had it. I don't want it.
So we definitely were like, we knew we were going into a hotspot. California's a hotspot. So when we left, I felt like we had won the lottery because we didn't get sick at all.
Yeah.
What was interesting is someone that we were hanging out with after the fact got really sick after we left. And we were near them a lot too. So I don't know. I think they got COVID, but it's hard to know. Like I didn't ask if they ended up being positive. They just told me they were very sick. So I think we dodged a million bullets, and I don't know how we did it. I'm just thankful that we did. But it was fun.
You want to know how I dodged that bullet?
What did you do?
I want to know how. Look at this. I'm about to be very controversial.
Go ahead and do it.
Have you controversial?
Go ahead. Yeah, of course.
All right. Some guys, people might not like this. Listen, I respect you maybe, but you know why I didn't get sick? You can agree with it. You could disagree with it. It's because I wore my mask. Like,
yeah, I did too. So here's the funny thing. I think I told you this. So when I took my picture with Justine and a lot of other people, I had my mask on, and I did for a couple of reasons, because I knew if I didn't, people were going to comment about it. Well, Justine did not. She did not have her mask on, and then she got dunked on. So I texted her later. I was like, I'm so sorry that happened to you, but that's literally why I was wearing my mask, because I knew that was going to happen. It's because I know I just had it off for the 1 minute. I didn't know it was going to be like, I'm like, people are just being buttheads about it. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like, I feel like, I know like people like always like, I followed all the rules and I still got it. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like everyone I know that legitimately I can actually verify, like they have followed the rules. They have done all the recommendations, have not caught it. They just have not caught it. And I always hear these people going, I did it. But then I see like, I just know like people and they're like, I did it. And it's like, well, except for that one time where I went to this party with like 100,000 people inside of it and I didn't wear my mask for 24 hours and then I got it. But I followed all the rules. I followed all the rules 95% of the time. And it's like, well, yeah, you like, yeah. I just feel like I've done everything they told me to do and I didn't get it yet. So I feel like, maybe that's bad karma. Maybe I'm going to get it any second now. That's possible. I don't want to sound like I'm the smartest person in the world. It's a very contagious disease, but I don't know. I've avoided it this whole time, which I think is it feels like a rarity nowadays.
It does.
At least in the US, it does.
Well, the irony is the last time I was in California with Jonathan Morrison and all those other people down there, the day before I left this is 2018, I got really badly sick. Like the day I was leaving, like really bad. So it's interesting that this time I did not, when there's a contagious craziness out there. And then this time I did. So for the GadgetCast Aftercast fans who are the most hardest of hardcore, so we can tell them things. One of the things that we batted around and I tried to convince Greg to do was to get like a studio out there in California. And, you know, he didn't, but it felt like there were moments where anything was possible. We were talking about it. It felt like there was a good 15 minutes where anything was possible.
Yeah, we're definitely a little delusional, I think.
But it seemed possible. We did the numbers. I'm like,
yeah, it is possible. Like it totally is. I mean, it's still something I'll consider for future kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'll let the GadgetCast people in on this. I might be getting my own studio pretty soon. I should be. If everything goes right this week, I should be.
That'd be amazing.
I
would be very happy for that.
Not even the Greg's Gadgets viewers know that, but there should be some exciting stuff coming up pretty soon that I'll definitely be sharing. If I do get it, I'll be sharing it like crazy. So I'll be like, oh my God, look at this.
Yeah, and the thing is if he gets it, there's another layer to that whole thing, which is hilarious to me. I'm not going to say anything because if Greg doesn't want to know
if I'll ever peel that layer back, but I think through deduction of video watching, you will start.
You might be able to figure it out.
Puzzle pieces together, and you will go, wait a second.
Why does that look familiar? Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so because
listen, if I get it, I will be purposely putting little
Easter
things
eggs
in my video to I'm not going to outwardly ever say it. I will never say it. But if you are an eagle-eyed viewer, you will go, wait.
It could be that you shoot. It could be that you shoot in areas that look very familiar.
Oh, no. I will shoot in some areas where I have seen shot that are
somewhere else
accessible to me. They are accessible to me. And I might put a little shot in there and you might go, wait, I've seen that somewhere.
I've seen that before. Oh my God. So funny. Just an exciting time all around. I'm excited for the different type of content I'm going to be doing. I'm excited for Greg for getting his own place, which is a big thing for him. Super excited for him. So definitely
it's got to put a pen to paper at this point, I think. So
amazing.
Barring
all right,
some
everybody.
Unfortunate circumstance.
Don't think that way, Greg. Don't do that to yourself. I actually have to talk to Greg privately, so we're going to let you guys and gals go. If you are listening, if you want to listen to the audio podcast, hopefully Greg will get that up today. Like if you missed the first half, you want to listen to audio or you want to whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll see all of y'all soon. Hopefully less than a week from now because it's Monday, so technically Sunday. All right.